She had one last order left. Passing by an expensive car, she heard panic coming from under it. After pulling him out, people with guns arrived. She took a big risk and was very lucky. Let's go back a week. Enjoy. The evening sun casts long shadows. Keisha Jones is almost done with her shift. She adjusts her cap with the Lightning Delivery Service logo. Her van is parked at the curb. The interior smells of coffee and old seats. The tablet on the dashboard emits a sharp sound. It's the sound of an urgent order. Keisha taps the screen. The route appears on the map. The departure point is the warehouse terminal at the port. The delivery point is a receiving point on the very outskirts of the city. The point closes in an hour. Keisha says to her partner, Jason, the big guy behind the wheel, nods and starts the engine. They drive to the warehouse. The dispatcher hands them a small box. It's heavier than it looks. It's carefully sealed with tape. There are no identifying marks on it, just a barcode and an address. Keisha scans the code, places the box in the bay with the other packages, and marks the task as received. Jason pulls onto the highway. Evening traffic is already starting to pick up. The van moves through the traffic. Keisha looks at the GPS. The program shows they'll make it on time. She relaxes in her seat. Another hour and they can go home. Suddenly, all the cars ahead start braking. A sea of red brake lights flash. Traffic slows and then comes to a complete stop. Traffic! Jason frowns. Keisha updates the map on her tablet. A red spot has appeared on the route. An accident icon appears next to it. The program is recalculating the time. The new arrival time is 5 minutes after the checkpoint closes. We can't be late, says Keisha. Otherwise, the order will be returned to base. We'll get a reprimand. She studies the map. There's an alternative route. It's longer, but it goes through an industrial area. There shouldn't be any traffic lights or congestion there. Take the next exit, she decides. We'll go through the old neighborhoods. Jason pulls off the highway. The noise of the city quickly fades. They enter a network of narrow streets. Here stand old warehouses, garages with closed gates, vacant lots with high fences. There are almost no cars. Only the occasional streetlight glows dimly. Twilight deepens. It's a creepy place, Jason remarks. But it's fast, Keisha replies. She follows the map. Turn left at the next intersection, then straight ahead for 2 kilometers. The van drives past dark windows and rusty signs. The wind blows trash across the asphalt. Keisha feels a slight tension. She's used to such neighborhoods, but she likes them no more than any other. They turn into another alley. It's narrower and darker than the previous ones, and then Keisha sees her. A car is parked right by the sidewalk, next to a tall brick fence. It's clearly not from here. A long, low, jet-black sedan, expensive and new. Its front left door is wide open. The interior light is out, but faint steam is coming from the rear of the car. The engine appears to still be running. What's going on? Jason mutters, slowing down. The van passes by at a slow speed. Keisha peers into the darkness inside. It's empty. No one is visible, neither behind the wheel nor in the passenger seat. An expensive car with an open door in a remote industrial area. That's not right. That's a bad sign. And then she hears it. A quiet but distinct sound, a metallic clang, and it's not coming from inside the car. It's coming from under the car, from under that same expensive, dark car. The sound cuts off. The alley is silent, save for the hum of the van's engine. Jason slowly rolls forward. Stop, Keisha says sharply. Jason slams on the brakes. They stop 20 meters from the dark sedan. What's wrong? Her partner asks. Keisha doesn't answer. She listens, her eyes fixed on the spot under the car, and then she hears it again. This time it's a muffled thud. Metal on asphalt. Not rhythmic, but chaotic. Desperate. And she sees movement. The light from the van's headlights falls under the car. Something dark flashes there. Something alive. It's not a cat or a dog. It's bigger. And it's thrashing around in the confined space, like a bird in a cage. There's someone in there, Keisha says quietly. Keish, should we just drive? Jason's voice is filled with alarm. Nothing good ever happens in a hole like this. We call emergency services and that's it. But Keisha is already looking at her watch. Calling and waiting will take at least 20 minutes. And whoever's under the car might not last even 20 seconds. The steam from under the hood intensifies slightly. The car might be malfunctioning. Thoughts race through Keisha's head, fast and clear. She's been a driver for 10 years. She's seen every situation. She's been trained to act, not to think, when every second counts. Her body moves before a final decision comes. Cover me, she tells Jason and throws open the door. Goody, if anything. Cold air hits her face. She jumps out onto the pavement. Her boots thud loudly on the concrete. She doesn't run, but walks quickly toward the black sedan, assessing the situation. Her eyes scan the alley. Shadows near the fence, dark garage openings. No one. Just them, this car, and whoever is underneath it. Jason turns on the hazard lights. The yellow light flashes, illuminating the brick sides. He switches the headlights to high beam. The bright beam now hits directly under the car, casting a sharp shadow. Keisha moves closer. She can now clearly make out a shape. It's a man. He's lying on his back, stuck between the rear wheel and some part of the chassis. His dark jacket is caught on something. Keisha drops to one knee. The asphalt is cold and wet with condensation. She peers under the car. The wide eyes of a young man stare right at her. Pure, animalistic terror is frozen in them. His face is pale, scratched, and dusty. He looks no more than 20. His hair is dark and tousled. He freezes when he sees her. "Don't move," Keisha says in a calm, commanding voice. It was the kind of voice she used to give orders in a past life. A voice that brooks no argument, but doesn't incite panic. He nods slowly, unable to speak. Keisha quickly analyzes the situation. He's not pinned, he's stuck. His jacket is caught tightly on a hook or lever. Every movement he makes tightens the knot. He twitches in panic, only making things worse. "My name is Keisha. I'm going to get you out, but you have to listen, understand?" He nods again. His breathing is rapid and shallow. "First, we need to get the jacket free." She lies flat on her stomach, ignoring the dirt, and crawls closer. Now she can see everything. It wasn't caught by accident. A metal hook protruded from the underbody and pierced the fabric, twisting it into a tight rope. She needs to twist, not tear, and do it with one hand in the tight space. "It's going to be a little tight," she warns him, slipping her hand into the narrow gap between his body and the engine crankcase. Keisha's fingers trace the twisted fabric. She works in tight quarters, almost by touch. Her movements are precise and economical. She doesn't pull. She carefully opens the metal hook, releasing the pressure, and simultaneously twists the jacket counterclockwise. The young man freezes, afraid to move. All that can be heard is his rapid breathing. "Almost done," Keisha says, feeling the material give. One final twist, and the jacket slips off the hook. The young man makes an involuntary movement, but Keisha quickly places her free hand on his chest. "Quiet! Come out now. Slowly. Free your shoulders first." He obeys, moving carefully. He stretches out, pushing off the asphalt with his hands. Keisha helps him, grabbing his arm. Her muscles tense. He's heavy. She pulls him toward her, freeing him from underneath. A second later, he's lying on the asphalt next to her, breathing heavily. He's free. Keisha immediately rolls to her knees and examines him. There are no visible injuries, just scratches. He's shocked, but unharmed. She grabs his shoulder. "Get up! You can't stay here." He lets her pull him up. His legs give way, and he leans against the hood of the black sedan for a moment. His eyes slowly begin to focus. He looks at Keisha, then at the flashing van, then back at her. You. His voice is broken and hoarse. "Breathe deeply," Keisha commands. Still holding his hand, she leads him to the van. They'll come," he finally breathes, and panic flares in his eyes again. He looks back at the alley. "Who?" Keisha asks sharply. He doesn't answer. He simply looks at his expensive but stained clothes, as if he's seeing them for the first time. "My father. He can't finish the thought. Keisha understands. This wasn't an accident, not a drunken stunt. He was forced into this alley. His car was stopped. He tried to escape and got stuck. And whoever did this might come back. In Keisha's mind, everything comes together to form a single, undeniable picture. The expensive car, the panic in his eyes, fear not of an accident, but of people. The words, "They will come." She doesn't ask anything else. Questions will come later. Jason opens the passenger door. His face is tense. "Keisha, what's going on? Who is this?" "Help him get in," Keisha says, without further explanation. Jason, though disgruntled, obeys. He takes the young man's arm and practically pushes him into the passenger seat. Keisha runs to the other side, jumps into her seat, and slams the door. "Buckle him," she tells Jason. While her partner tightens the seatbelt on the stunned man, Keisha checks her side mirrors. The alley is still empty. "Let's go, from here, quickly, but don't panic," she says. Jason shifts into gear. The van starts to move. He makes a U-turn to avoid the abandoned sedan. At that moment, two large black SUVs emerge from around the far corner of the alley. They're moving slowly, their headlights off. Here they are, the young man says quietly from the back seat, cowering. Keisha doesn't answer. She watches as the SUVs pull up next to a dark sedan. People get out of the cars. They surround the empty vehicle. Don't slow down, but don't speed up either. Just keep going, she whispers to Jason. The van rounds another bend, and the industrial zone hides the danger from view. But the tension in the cabin doesn't subside. It's frozen now, thick and unspoken. Jason turns onto a wider street. He speeds up, but keeps with the flow of traffic. Keisha keeps her gaze glued to her side mirror. Keep heading for the highway, she says calmly, but there is steel in her voice. 30 seconds later, she sees what she expected. In her mirror, two black SUVs emerge from the same alley. They accelerate sharply, merging with traffic. The distance between them and the van quickly closes. Jason, they found us. 3 cars behind us, Keisha says, her voice even and work-like. Jason swears under his breath, his hands tightening on the steering wheel. Where to go? They're in faster cars. We can't go straight ahead. The next turn is right, into a residential area. Keisha tilts the tablet with the map, her eyes quickly scanning the street grid. The SUVs are approaching. One of them starts to change lanes to get closer. Right now, Keisha commands. Jason slams on the brakes and yanks the wheel to the right. The van, its tires screeching, swerves into the narrow alleyway between old 5-story buildings. The SUVs speed past, but immediately reverse and turn behind them. Keisha knows this neighborhood. She delivered orders here for 3 years. She remembers every arch, every dead end. Turn left into the courtyard, through the arch, then immediately right to the playground, she says, not taking her eyes off the mirrors. The van barrels into the yard, cuts around the sandbox, and swerves into the adjacent driveway. One of the SUVs, misjudging its dimensions, clips a concrete trash can with its bumper. This buys them a few seconds. They're trying to pin us down. One of them's about to pull out parallel from the next street, Keisha predicts. They'll dart forward and turn sharply left. There's a passageway between the garages. The van roars, picking up speed, and at the last moment dives into a narrow gap between rows of garage bays. Mirrors scrape glancingly against the brick. Sparks fly. The screech of brakes is heard behind. SUVs are too wide for this labyrinth. 10 seconds later, they emerge onto a deserted street under repair. Their pursuers are nowhere in sight. Jason slows down, breathing heavily. The van is eerily silent, broken only by the sound of the engine and their breathing. Keisha turns around. The young man is sitting in the back seat, his back pressed against the door. He looks at her. The shock in his eyes gradually fades, giving way to amazement and question. He studies her face, her work jacket, her calm, confident hands. You're military? He finally says. His voice is still shaky, but it's clearer now. Ex-driver, Keisha replies curtly. What's your name? Changmin. Lee Changmin, he says. Keisha nods. Keisha Jones. And those who were chasing you, Changmin? He looks away. His fingers grip the edges of the seat. It's because of my father. They think I know something. Or took something. The words took something ring in Keisha's memory. A box. An urgent order. She turns toward the cargo hold. Jason, stop at that vacant lot. For 5 minutes. The van pulls to the side of the road next to a weed-covered lot. Keisha unlocks the partition and climbs into the compartment. She finds the same small, heavy box. The label is in place. The barcode matches. But something is wrong. She picks up the box and carefully examines the tape. It's branded with the Molnia logo. But in the warehouse, they use a special gun to apply it in even strips. Here, the edges of the strips are jagged, as if they were torn by hand, and the cardboard itself is slightly dented at the corners, as if it had already been opened and resealed. Keisha takes a folding knife from her pocket and carefully lifts the edge of the tape. It comes off too easily. Inside the box is not an electronic device, as the invoice stated. It contains several stacks of thick paper, tightly packaged, wrapped in plastic, and on top is a simple brick to create the necessary weight. She's been set up. The order was switched at the warehouse. And now in her van is a guy who's being chased, and a load that someone really needs, or that someone really wants to get rid of. The silence in the cabin is shattered by a vibration. A deep, insistent sound emanates from Changmin's pocket. He flinches as if he's been electrocuted. He slowly takes out his phone. The screen lights up. A Chinese character and a single word are displayed. Father. Changmin looks at the call as if it were something dangerous. His finger hovers over the screen. Take it, Keisha says quietly but firmly. She needs to know who's on the other end. Changmin swipes the screen and brings the phone to his ear. He doesn't say a word. He just listens. A low, calm male voice can be heard coming from the speaker inside the car. There's no panic in it, only a cold, controlled strength. Changmin turns even paler. Yes, father, he finally breathes out. A pause. I'm okay. I'm not alone. I was picked up by a courier. Another pause. He closes his eyes. No, I don't know who these people are. I left the car in the alley by the old warehouses. The voice on the phone is clear and measured. Changmin nods, even though he can't see. I understand. Okay. He hands the phone to Keisha. He wants to talk to you. Keisha picks up the phone. I'm listening. Elle and Gino's voices sounded velvety smooth in her ear, but every verbal stone was polished to a razor's edge. You did my son a favor. I won't forget that. Now there's just one thing you need to do. Stay put. My men will be here in 10 minutes to pick up Changmin. You'll be compensated for your trouble. Keisha looks out the window at the vacant lot, then at Changmin's frightened face, then at the box with the switched cargo. Too many coincidences. Too many traps. We're not standing still, she says, in a flat tone that betrays years of making decisions under pressure. The people who've been stalking us may be close, and I'm not sure who's who. There's a brief but heavy pause on the other end of the line. You're being very careful. That's good. Then tell me where you feel safe transmitting. I'll call you back, Keisha says and hangs up. She hands the phone back to Changmin. Jason looks at her, wide-eyed. Cash, what's going on? I thought I could just leave while the Shinny were talking to my father, but they were following me. They wanted to take me to put pressure on him. He speaks in fragments, but the picture becomes clear. Family business, competition, a son as a bargaining chip. Keisha looks at the switched cargo in her lap, then at Changmin. She's putting two facts together in her head. First, if those people from the alley had caught Changmin, they would have used him against her father. Second, someone at the Lightning Warehouse switched her order, dragging her into this mess. This wasn't an accident. She was either framed or made into a hapless courier in someone else's game. If she calls the authorities, there will be reports and questions. The substituted cargo will surface. She will be suspended from work. Changmin will probably be taken away. And his father's men and his competitors' men will continue their struggle, just on a different field. And she will find herself in the center, as a witness. If she hands over Changmin on a call, she can't be sure that it will be her father's men who arrive. It could be another trap. She makes a choice, quickly, like when she pulled him out from under the car. Jason, we're not handing him over to anyone. Not yet. We found him. We're responsible. Keisha, are you crazy? Jason almost screams. Look at this, she says, showing him a box of bricks. We were dragged into this on purpose, or out of stupidity, but now we're in. If we go through official channels, we'll be harassed for a long time, and these guys will sort things out among themselves without us, leaving us with a ton of problems. We're doing it our way. She turns to Changmin. Do you have a place to hide? Not your house, not your friend's place. A quiet, safe place that no one in your circle knows about? Changmin slowly shakes his head. It seems he's never been to a place like this in his life. Keisha nods. She knew such a place. We're going to 5th and Lavrovi, Keisha tells Jason. His face is one of complete incomprehension, but he silently puts the car into gear and pulls out onto the road. Changmin looks at her questioningly. Is this the old town area? 2-story buildings. I have one place there, Keisha explains. She doesn't call it an apartment. It's more like a memory, locked within 4 walls. She leads them not along the main roads, but along quiet streets, winding between identical post-war buildings. Finally, she points to a narrow passage between brick buildings. Stop here. We'll walk. She tucks the box with the swapped cargo under her arm. Jason, you need to leave. With the van. Return to base, report for your shift, business as usual. If anyone asks about me, say I called in sick and left early. Don't say anything about the box. Bye. What about you? And him? Jason doesn't hide his concern. We'll be safe. I'll call. Now go. Her tone leaves no room for argument. Jason looks at them, then nods slowly. The van drives away, leaving Keisha and Changmin in the dark alley. Keisha leads him through the back door into a building smelling of damp and old wood. They go up to the 2nd floor. Keisha takes a single key on a simple steel chain from her inside jacket pocket. It creaks into the lock of the heavy wooden door. Inside, it smells of dust, closed windows, and peace. Keisha flicks the switch. One dim light bulb is on under the ceiling. It's a small one, a one-room apartment. All the furniture is covered with old sheets. On the walls are framed photos covered in a thin layer of dust. Nothing has changed here for 15 years. This is my grandmother's apartment. She left 10 years ago. I couldn't rent it out or sell it. I come over sometimes, says Keisha, yanking the sheet off the sofa. The worn but clean chintz is revealed. She checks the windows. The shutters are closed. The panels are in place. The curtains are thick. She turns on the small refrigerator. It vibrates to life. There's running water. There's canned food in the cupboard. The toilet and shower work. No one's coming, she says matter-of-factly. Changmin stands in the middle of the room, stunned by the sudden change in scenery. From expensive carpets and chromed metal to this quiet, time-frozen haven, he slowly sinks onto the sofa. The sheet falls from his shoulders to the floor, revealing a dirty and torn expensive jacket. The silence here is different, not tense, like in the van, but thick, enveloping. It absorbs the sounds of the city. Changmin is the first to break it. My father! He built everything from scratch. His business is his life, and he wants that life to continue in me. Every mistake I make is not my fault. It's a stain on his reputation. I can't just breathe incorrectly, he says, looking at the dusty floor. There was an important meeting today. I should have just sat there, silent, and looked respectable. But I heard what they were talking about people like pawns, about contracts that break if the opponent is weaker. I couldn't breathe. I just got out, got in the car, and drove. Wherever my eyes looked. He falls silent, clenching his hands. And you? How do you do all this? Drive, hide, not panic. Keisha sits down in the old chair across from him. She's silent for a few seconds. I spent 8 years driving an army truck, not in war, in support duty. But the routes weren't through tourist spots. They teach you to see the road, predict the actions of others, seek cover. They teach you that your cargo and your people are your responsibility. Then I came back, and here, no one cares about that responsibility. Only at Lightning. Instructions, routes, timing. She jerks her chin toward the box by the door. But it seems things aren't so simple there anymore. Meanwhile, in a stern, minimalist office in the city's central district, Elye Jinho places his phone on the table. His face is an impenetrable mask. Standing before him is Min Seok, his senior aide. Dressed in an impeccable suit, his posture suggests readiness for action. They didn't stay put, and she doesn't trust us, Elle and Jinho say in a quiet voice. Stupid woman. She's complicating everything, Min Seok says. No, cautious. She pulled Changmin out from under the car and evaded pursuit in an area where her van wasn't supposed to go. That's not stupidity, that's competence. But now she's an unknown variable, his boss corrects. His fingers drum slowly on the glass tabletop. Taegun has people at all the exits from the industrial zone. They found nothing. She fooled them, Minsuk reports. We're not interested in Taegun now. We're interested in this courier. Find out everything you can about her and her van. And find out who switched the cargo at the Lightning warehouse. This wasn't our initiative. And I don't think it was Taegun's initiative either. Someone else is trying to profit from our conflict. Minsuk nods. I will. And the son? Changmin is alive. He's with her. For now, that's all that matters. Find them. Quietly. In the dimly lit utility room that serves as the base of operations for Taegun's men, several monitors glow. One of them displays a frozen frame from a surveillance camera. The camera was mounted on the corner of a garage in the very area where the van escaped. The frame clearly shows a white Lightning van turning into a narrow alley. Its license plate is visible. A young man in a leather jacket zooms in. The plate is clearly legible. Yes, he says into his phone. We were shadow catching her, and she left us a business card. The license plate number. I'll find the owner and directions in an hour. He starts typing rapidly, accessing certain unofficial databases. 40 minutes later, he has a name, Keisha Jones, her registered address, a photo from her driver's license database, her work schedule, and her last registered order before leaving the route. She didn't go to the delivery point, he mutters. She disappeared with the boss's son. And with the very cargo we were supposed to intercept. He dials a number. Boss, I have the name and face of the one who interfered. What do you order? The answer comes out hoarse and short. Find her. And what she took. Keisha sits in a chair, looking at the dusty path of sunlight filtering through a crack in the shutter. The silence of the apartment now seems resonant. Every word Changmin says, every fact, fits into the mosaic like stone, and the picture that emerges is disturbing. She understands the scale of the situation. On one side is her powerful father, with resources and a team. On the other are his competitors, ready to take harsh measures. And she, Keisha Jones, an ordinary courier, is caught between them. And now she's not just a witness. She's a participant. She's claimed the prize, her son, and possibly the contents of this box. She looks at Changmin. He's young, scared, and needs protection. She looks at the box. It's proof that there's someone in her delivery service warehouse who works for one of these parties, or a third party. The risk is now multifaceted. She could be found by Taegun's men, those who were pursuing the van. Her father's men could consider her a kidnapper. She'll certainly be fired from her job for losing the cargo and missing the route. And if the substitution is discovered, she might even be charged with something more serious. She can't just wait any longer. She needs to take action. "We can't sit here forever," Keisha says, breaking the silence. Her voice is determined. Changmin looks up at her. "My father. He will find us. His people will always find us." "Exactly. That's why we won't hide from them. We'll be the first to contact them, but on our terms." Changmin tenses. He'll be so angry. He'll make me come back. And he won't thank you. He'll just take me away and pay me to forget about me. I don't expect gratitude. I want to get out of this situation with the least amount of damage. For you and for me. So we'll set some rules, Keisha says, taking Changmin's phone. "We'll call him. We'll tell him you're safe. But the meeting will be at a place we choose. He'll come alone or with one assistant. No cars with tinted windows. We'll make a trade. You guarantee my safety and close this whole incident," she says, pointing her foot at the box. Changmin nods slowly, a faint glimmer of hope in his eyes. Maybe this gesture of independence will change something. "Okay, let's give it a try." Keisha puts the phone on speakerphone and dials father. The call is answered on the first ring. "Changmin?" Elle and Jinho's voices are even, but there's a subtle thread of tension in them. "This is Keisha Jones. Your son is with me. He is safe. We are safe." There's a moment's pause on the other side. "Where are you?" "The location isn't important. What matters is the offer. You want your son. I want guarantees that after this, I won't have any problems. Not from you, not from those people in the alley, not from my work. Put forward your conditions." The voice becomes even more neutral, businesslike. "You arrive at the meeting alone or with one other person. We'll arrange a location, open, public, but quiet. I'll see you first from a distance. You confirm you're alone, then we'll leave. You'll pick up Changmin and the box I was supposed to deliver. You guarantee that the incident with the cargo swap at Lightning will be closed without my name and that there will be no claims against me." "You ask a lot, Miss Jones." There is a slight, cold smile in the voice. "I've risked a lot, Mr. Lee, and I'm still risking it. This isn't a request. These are the conditions for returning what's dear to you. Answer now, yes or no. If not, we'll disappear, and you'll have a much longer search." The silence on the line stretches for several seconds. Changmin freezes. "Okay," Elle finally says. "I accept the terms. Set a time and place." Elle and Jinho's voices on the phone are clear, unwavering. "Tomorrow, 6 in the morning, the area in front of the old grain elevator on the waterfront. It's an open space. I'll be there with Minseok." Keisha quickly runs a map of the city through her head. The grain elevator, the abandoned industrial area by the water, early morning. Public, but definitely empty at this time. It's not neutral. This is his territory. He knows it, and he wants her to understand it. "No," she says firmly. "Not a grain elevator. A construction site at the intersection of 4th Avenue and the Garden Ring. A new residential complex. It's fenced in, but there are lots of passages. 5:30. At dawn. There's silence on the other side." He considers. A construction site is a more chaotic place, with plenty of cover and escape routes. Not his control zone. "You don't trust me, Ms. Jones?" "This isn't about trust, Mr. L. This is about equal terms. 5:30. A construction site. You and one assistant. Otherwise, this conversation is over." A quiet exhalation is heard. "Okay, 5:30. Construction site. I'll be in the dark sedan. Minseok will be with me." Keisha hangs up. They have less than a day now. She looks at Changmin. "You know this place?" He shakes his head. "I drove past. A huge pit and cranes." "Exactly. Lots of concrete blocks, rebar, construction trailers, lots of shadows, even at dawn. We'll get there first. We need to inspect all escape routes." She stands up and he begins pacing the room, mentally formulating a plan. "We won't take a taxi to the spot itself. We'll leave 3 blocks away and walk. You'll stay in the shelter, in one of the unfinished entrances, or behind the concrete circles. I'll go out first, to make sure he's really alone. If something's wrong, an extra person, unmarked cars in the alleys, we leave. We have a code. If I straighten my cap, it means all is clear. Come out. If I take off my cap and scratch my head, it's danger. Take Route A. It leads to the subway through the gap in the fence. Changmin listens intently, his eyes becoming focused. For the first time that day, he feels not just fear, but a concrete goal. And if everything goes well, he asks, then we leave. You go to your father. I hand him the box. We exchange a few words, and then we part ways. You leave with him. I head in the opposite direction, toward the subway station. I have a change of clothes in my backpack just in case. I'll take off my lightning jacket and pack it. She opens an old closet, takes out a simple dark tracksuit and a black beanie. You have to decide what you'll tell your father, Changmin. Just sit in the car silently? Or say something? Changmin clenches his fists. I'll say what I want to say. As an equal, that I'm not a pawn. Keisha looks at him and nods. Okay, then be prepared for him not to be happy. But it's your choice. At 5:15 in the morning, they were already there. The air was cold and damp, smelling of cement and rusty metal. The sky in the east was just beginning to lighten, turning a dirty lilac. As planned, they arrived on foot. Keisha in a dark suit, with a backpack slung over her shoulder. Changmin in her old hoodie to hide her face. A construction site is a realm of concrete and steel. A dug pit, stacks of slabs, the skeletons of future houses rising into the brightening sky. Blank fences with holes. The silence is broken only by the distant hum of the city and the cawing of crows. Keisha leads Changmin to a pre-selected hiding spot, the low foundation of the future block, piled high with polystyrene slabs. From here, the main entrance to the site is visible. Stay here. Don't move. Don't look out. I'll be back, she whispers. She glides like a shadow between the concrete rings and piles of sand. She checks the perimeter. Are there any lurking cars on the neighboring streets? Are there people on the upper floors of the unfinished buildings? She climbs the rough concrete stairs to the second floor of the frame and lies down on the slab, looking down through the rebar. She has a perfect view. At precisely 5:29, a long black sedan pulls out onto the empty road in front of the entrance. It stops. A man in a formal coat, Minseok, steps out of the driver's door. He walks around the car and opens the back door. Elle and Jinho get out. They're both standing next to the car. They're not smoking, not talking on the phone. They're just waiting. That's good. Keisha watches intently for another 5 minutes. There's no movement around. Not a single suspicious shadow. She goes downstairs and returns to Changmin. She adjusts her black cap. A signal. All clear. The two of them. It's time. She emerges first from around the corner of the foundation and walks across the rubble toward the entrance. Her footsteps crunch loudly in the morning silence. Two men near the car turn their heads in her direction. Lee Jinho takes a step forward. His face, in the pre-dawn light, seems carved from stone. His eyes, dark and unblinking, stare at Keisha. He sees only her. Keisha stops 10 meters away from them. She stands up straight, a backpack with a box slung over one shoulder. Her face is calm, her gaze appraising. She looks first at Min-suk, registering his position, then shifts her gaze to Elle and Jinho. He looks only at her, but his entire being is tense, waiting for one thing, to see his son. Changmin appears from around the concrete corner, slightly behind and to the left of Keisha. He throws back his hood. His face is pale. There are dark circles under his eyes, but he holds his head upright. He takes a few steps and stops next to Keisha, not behind her, but almost level with her. It's a significant gesture. Lee Jinho sees his son. His stony face doesn't waver, but something subtly shifts around his eyes, a tiny relaxation of the titanic tension. He saw him yesterday on the screens, but now he sees him alive, whole. His eyes sweep over his son for a second, checking that everything is all right, and then return to Keisha. Minseok doesn't move. He's a statue watching the perimeter, but his attention is also focused on the group. Changmin, Elle and Jinho say. One word. It's an order, a question, and a huge unspoken burden. Changmin takes a deep breath. He feels the familiar pressure of that gaze, that voice. It always made him cringe. Not today. Today, behind him, not his father's house, but a deserted construction site at dawn, and next to him, a woman who isn't afraid of his father. Father, Changmin says. His voice is quiet but not shaky, I'm fine. Thanks to Miss Jones. I see that. It's time to go home, Elle says to Jinho, making a slight gesture with his hand. I'll go with you, but not to the caged home. We need to talk. Seriously, Changmin says. He says it clearly, looking his father straight in the eye. Lee Jinho tilts his head slightly, as if examining his son for the first time. Now is neither the time nor the place for conversation. You've been through stress. You need rest. No, father, right now, right here. Because if not now, it will never happen. I no longer want to be just a shadow in your negotiations, a prize in your arguments. I don't want to be chased through alleys, thinking I'm your weakness. He says this without challenge, with a new, mature weariness. I don't know if I want your business, but I do know that I want the right to make my own choices, to make my own mistakes, to live my own life. And if that's impossible, then I'd rather stay here, on this platform. Minseok turns his head almost impossibly slowly to look at his boss. A heavy silence hangs in the air, unbroken even by the morning breeze. Lee Jinho looks at his son. He sees more than just youthful rebellion. He sees determination forged by yesterday's fear. He sees that his son isn't alone. He stands next to this woman who, without blinking an eye, entered their world of chaos and pulled him out on her own terms. His gaze shifts to Keisha. She doesn't intervene. She simply stands, watching, like a guard dog who's done her job but hasn't yet left. She's not afraid of him. She respects the circumstances, not his title. In his world, that's a rare and valuable quality, El Jinho says slowly, addressing Changmin, but his words seem addressed to both of them. Today, you made one. You trusted a stranger and came here to tell me so to my face. It's not a stupid choice, he pauses. Miss Jones, you've given me back my son, not just a body. You've given me back a man who has found his voice. In my line of work, debts are paid in full. I agree to your terms. The cargo incident will be closed. Your name will not be mentioned. Lightning will not be held responsible. He gives Minseok a slight nod. He opens the car door. Changmin. Me? Che? We're going, not home, to my office. We'll talk, like you wanted. Like equals. It's not easy for him, but he says it. Then he looks back at Keisha. And you, Miss Jones? You've done your part. What about yours? Keisha takes off her backpack, opens it, and pulls out the very same box. She takes a few steps forward and places it on the hood of the black sedan. This is what I was supposed to deliver. It was tampered with and replaced in the Terminal 7 warehouse. Your part is to figure out why. My part is done. She steps back, to her distance. Her job is done. Changmin stands motionless. His father's words, on equal terms, hang in the air like an unfamiliar, fragile instrument. He knows this isn't complete capitulation. It's the beginning of negotiations. I'm ready to talk, father, Changmin says, but I want there to be rules. I won't just sit in the office and nod. I want to ask questions, and I want to try something myself, not in your main business. Something separate, small, to learn. Lee Jinho looks at him, assessing. His old approach tells him to press, to insist on control, but yesterday showed the price of such control. His son almost became a bargaining chip, and this woman standing next to him acted in a way his most trusted men wouldn't, on instinct, honor, and risk. Okay, he says, there will be rules. First, you tell me everything you saw and heard yesterday, in detail. Second, we'll analyze your ideas together. I'll give you seed capital, but it'll be a loan. You'll pay it back. And third, complete transparency. No escapes. If the pressure becomes unbearable, we'll tell you. You tell me straight. I'll tell you honestly. Is that a deal? It's not freedom. It's a structure. But within it, there's room for movement. Changmin nods slowly. It's a contract. Lee Jinho turns to Keisha. His face is once again inscrutable, but there's a new note in his eyes. Recognition. Miss Jones, you did the right thing. You didn't take money from those who persecuted my son. You didn't simply hand him over to the authorities. You took responsibility and followed through. In my world, such things are worth it. He makes a slight gesture with his hand. Minseok opens the folder he's been holding under his arm and takes out a thick, heavy paper envelope. With a casual but precise movement, he places it on the hood next to the box. This is compensation for your lost workday and for the risks. The amount covers your annual salary at Molnia. The money is clear. No obligations, says El and Jinho. The envelope lies on the cold metal. It's thick, promising peace, and the solution to many everyday problems. Keisha looks at the envelope, then looks up at Elle and Jinho. She doesn't reach for it. Thank you, but I can't take it, she says calmly. Ms. Seok raises an eyebrow slightly. Lee Jinho waits, unsurprised. I don't sell my help. I don't rent people out. I did what I thought was right. Money is a different story, a different deal, Keisha explains. She pauses, gathering her thoughts. But if you're talking about debt or opportunities, I have a request. Not for money, for assistance. Speak, Elle and Jinho suggest. I've been driving for 10 years. I know cars. I can fix them. I can feel them. I've been wanting to open my own small auto repair shop for a long time. Not a glamorous one, an honest one, for people like me, drivers, couriers, taxi drivers. But that requires more than just money. You need a space and permits. In this city, it's hard to get. She speaks evenly, without ingratiation. She gets down to business, bureaucracy, Lee Jinho clarifies. I'm asking for an opportunity. If you or your partners have a suitable vacant space in an industrial zone, a garage, I'm willing to rent it at market rate. And if you can help expedite the process so it takes a month instead of a year, that would be worth more than a single envelope. It would be a fresh start. Changmin looks at her with undisguised respect. She doesn't take handouts. She builds a bridge. Lee Jinho considers this. It's a smart move. It creates a connection, not a monetary one, but a business one. It gives him a point of influence, but also gives her independence. It's fair. I have a suitable space on Starokledskaya Street. It's been vacant for 2 years. The rent will be fixed for 3 years. Minsok will prepare the documents and handle your paperwork through the authorities. We're providing the opportunity. The rest is up to your efforts and your reputation. He delivers his verdict. Keisha takes a deep breath. It's more than she'd hoped for. Agreed. Dawn is finally breaking. Golden light bathes the concrete slabs and rusty rebar. The deal is sealed. Changmin walks toward his father. Before getting into the car, he turns and looks at Keisha. He doesn't say thank you. He simply nods, the nod of someone who has understood something important. Then he gets into the sedan. Min Seok takes the wheel. Lee Jinho take one last look at Keisha, brief, full of unspoken appreciation, and disappears into the car. The car pulls away smoothly and disappears around the corner. Keisha stands alone on an empty construction site. The wind flutters the hem of her tracksuit. On the hood of an unoccupied car lies only that same box. She didn't take the envelope with the money. She now has something more, an agreement. A week later, Keisha resigns from Molnia. There's no scandal. She's simply told that the lost cargo incident is over due to the fault of a third-party supplier. 2 weeks later, Minsok meets her at the gates of a gray hangar on Starokledskaya Street. He silently hands her a folder of documents and 2 keys. The hangar needs repairs, but it's dry, with a pit, running water, and electricity. It's a canvas. A month later, a modest sign appears on the door. Jones, Diagnostics and Repair. The first customers are former couriers. They spread the word that Keisha does honest repairs, doesn't overcharge, and understands customers instantly. Meanwhile, Changmin works in a small department that handles logistics for one of the family's secondary projects. He starts by analyzing gas bills. It's boring, but these are his bills. His analysis. His first report, modest yet self-contained. His father reads it silently, makes a few comments, but nods in the end. It's not praise. It's an acknowledgement of fact. The crisis has passed. It hasn't vanished without a trace. It left behind new borders, new treaties, and 2 new, very different paths that have only just begun to diverge in the light of everyday life. Mornings at Jones' service begin with the smell of freshly brewed coffee, oil, and metal. Keisha arrives first. She turns on the light, and her world awakens beneath the overhead lamps. 2 workstations, shelves filled with tools, and neat boxes of spare parts. A large calendar with customer appointments hangs on the wall. The first vehicle, an old van from a familiar courier service, arrives promptly at 8. The driver has brake problems. Keisha nods, backs the van into a pit, and disappears under it with a flashlight. The work absorbs her completely. Everything is clear here. There's a malfunction. There's an algorithm for finding it, and there's a result. Honesty and clarity. By lunchtime, the service center is already buzzing. At the second checkpoint, her assistant, a young man named Artem, is changing a wheel bearing on a taxi driver's battered foreign car. Keisha wipes her hands with a rag and makes a note on the invoice for the van driver. She no longer has to rush anywhere according to someone else's schedule. Her schedule now dictates the line at her gate. Across town, in a modest office by the L family's standards, Changmin sits at his computer. On the screen are spreadsheets displaying quarterly fuel consumption data. Previously, these numbers were just boring columns to him. Now he's searching for patterns. He's noticed that two cars on identical routes report different fuel consumption. He sends a polite but persistent request to drivers, asking them to check their tire pressure and driving style. It's a small initiative, insignificant from a big business perspective, but it's his initiative, and the responses to his request are sent to him, not to the general chat. That afternoon, Keisha receives an unexpected visitor. It's Jason, her former partner. He's out on his day off. He stands in the middle of the service area, looking around. At the sign, at Keisha in her oil-stained overalls with the signature Jones patch on her chest. "You're something else, Keish," he says, and there's genuine respect in his voice. He's brought her a thermos of homemade soup from his wife. "So you remember to eat, now that you're no longer in charge." They laugh. The old tension is gone. Jason now sometimes recommends her service to friends. Meanwhile, Changmin is preparing for his first independent meeting, not with his father, but with the purchasing manager of a small warehouse they have a contract with. The meeting is scheduled for neutral territory, an ordinary cafe. Changmin checks the numbers again. His palms are slightly sweaty. His father simply said, "Have you checked everything? Then go ahead, no prompts." This is what it means to have a conversation as equals, full responsibility for your words and numbers. The evening at the service center is quiet. Artyom leaves. Keisha closes the gate, but doesn't leave right away. She circles around, checking her tools, dusting the workbench. Her gaze falls on an old, worn key on a chain hanging on a hook by the workbench. The key to her grandmother's apartment. It's no longer needed as a refuge. Now it's just a memory, a reminder of where it all began and where that incredible day led. She turns off the light, leaving only the emergency light on. Her phone vibrates. A text message arrives from an unknown number. A short text. "Lease documents extended. Rent will not change. M. Minseok. This isn't friendship. This is compliance with the terms of the contract. Clear, concise, no unnecessary words." That's exactly what she needs. Changmin leaves the cafe. The meeting is over. He didn't close a grand deal. He simply agreed on new terms for the supply of office supplies, which would save their joint project a small but pleasant sum. The manager's handshake was firm, his gaze appraising, but without the usual condescension toward the boss's son. In his jacket pocket, Changmin holds the business card he was handed at the end, for operational matters, not his father, his own. He gets into the car, not the company black sedan, but the modest compact he leased with his first paycheck. He glances at the business card, then puts it in the glove compartment. An evening conversation with his father awaits. It won't be easy. He'll need to report on the numbers, explain his decisions, and perhaps listen to criticism. But this will be a conversation, not a one-sided briefing, but a dialogue. Two roads, two new realities. One, the smell of oil and the satisfaction of a repaired engine. The other, the taste of an independent, albeit small, decision. They will never cross paths again. Their stories have diverged, but that dawn on the construction site will forever remain a starting point for both of them, the moment when each chose their own path, not the easiest. And now they walk it, step by step, without looking back.